It is August 2026. We just got 8 new games in the latest Humble Choice. From Reanimated Warriors, Reformed Yakuza members, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We got a lot to go over. I'm here to let you know what I added to my favorites, what I tossed into the library, and what got banished into the hidden section. My name's Stevie, and I tried all the games to be able to give you my humble opinion.
You sent some League lackeys to a ruin we sealed off, and then sold them out to be slaughtered by the Empire.
Ah, that was a nice little earner. So, you gonna do something about it?
Dark Envoy. With a metascore of 68 and a user score of 75, some users say, the battle is the main thing of the game, and it is just too chaotic for my taste. While others say, the combat is more fun than expected, scratching that same itch as Icewind Dale or old school tactical RTS titles like Commanders. On a far-off planet, a brother and sister lead a party of relic hunters through ancient and dangerous dungeons where sorcery and technology coexist, scavenging what they can to survive an Imperial Galactic War. I honestly don't know if that description is even accurate. The game starts with a lengthy and convoluted exposition dump that seems to be irrelevant to the rest of the game. But regardless, we begin by customizing our two protagonists, altering their visual appearance, and determining their classes. We can choose between Adept, Engineer, Ranger, and Warrior, with abilities that mix magic and weaponry, using a variety of swords, wands, and firearms. During our missions, we navigate our characters through dungeon crawling style maps from an isometric perspective. But once the combat begins, the controls shift, transforming the game into a real-time tactics experience, where you can freeze time to direct each member of your party to execute independent actions. In theory, this seems to be very interesting, allowing for a deep combat system, but in practice, it was a bit of a mess. I played this on controller, and it did not translate well, with some features being completely inaccessible. I never felt like I knew what I was doing, and I was constantly fighting with the camera. During cutscenes, we're presented with moments of choice, where we can make very clear and meaningful decisions. Do we pay off the guard protecting the entrance of the dungeon, or do we refuse and fight? Do we install this unknown source of power into our village, or destroy it so it does not fall into the wrong hands? The voice acting and animation are nothing to write home about. You may find them charming or cheap, depending on your tolerance for B-movie level performances. Throughout our expeditions, there is a lot of loot to uncover, allowing you to immediately swap each character's weapons, outfits, and accessories, with every change also affecting their appearance. In my first mission, I was able to experiment with dual daggers, a two-handed axe, a sword and shield, and a longsword, but outside of their stats and animations, I didn't notice much of a difference between them. With that being said, Dark Envoy is going to be banished into the hidden section. I don't particularly enjoy RPGs, let alone tactical ones, but this game is also just buggy. I just can't recommend this one. Pile Up, without a metascore or a user score, but a mostly positive on Steam. Some reviewers say, fiddly building placement with no undo, so a single click can ruin a 45-minute run. While others say, blew up my civilization 3 times. I regret nothing, and looking forward to blow up more in a calmly fashion. On a small plot of land in the middle of the ocean, we must construct our ever-growing town, keeping its citizens happy with the right balance of buildings as we constantly add to this endless vertical city. In this game, creativity meets structure, as we're given each round a handful of buildings to implement in our town. Each building block can be rotated, placed on top, next to, or completely detached from other blocks. Constructions can interact with one another in both positive and negative ways, with housing grouping together to boost population, water towers causing integrity issues for any building below them, and generators plus gas reserves, causing massive explosions if placed too close together. Pile Up is about endurance, where you need to carefully read each building's conditions and modifiers to keep the population alive and happy. For a balanced town, you should try to provide each house with gas, electricity, greenery, or any other type of amenity to prevent the citizens from falling into revolt and revoking your position as a town planner. With several buildings to unlock and a handful of maps, I was not able to achieve much because while this game looks chill, it could also be very intense. I instantly tried making my town as pretty as I could, forgetting about the infrastructure. I was stacking all of my water towers one on top of the other, so they wouldn't damage the structure below. But in doing so, I left the majority of my citizens without access to water, causing me to be voted out by the people. The game is truly stunning to look at, with connecting buildings combining and transforming seamlessly into a single structure, making the process of construction very rewarding. But I did find that the few random buildings you receive each turn are too restrictive, as I rarely felt like I was actually planning. Instead, I found myself placing blocks wherever I could, only to later realize how flawed my town had become. With that being said, Pile Up is going to be tossed into my library. In theory, this game should be right up my alley, but I found the synergies and building conditions to be just too confusing. I might give it another try when I'm less busy. Gatekeeper. Without a metascore or a user score, but at a very positive on Steam, some reviewers say, interesting game for the first 6-7 hours, then gets boring. 5 maps rotating, a couple of bosses, and that's it. While others say, if you love Risk of Rain 2 and 1 or Returns, then you will fall in love with this game as well. On a quest to chase down chaos and reclaim the stolen heart of time, we must follow his trail by finding and defeating his elite sirens through several different worlds. In this action-packed twin-stick shooter roguelike, we start each round by choosing a character, determining our attack types, stats, and modifiers. Once deployed, we must complete a mission on each map. Whether that means finding a key to a door, escorting a power source, or simply standing in a designated area as hordes of minions try to attack us. Once completed, we may finally summon a siren, commencing an intense boss battle. To aid us in this journey, several power-ups can be found, purchased, and stacked on to our character, modifying each run in a unique way. Their effects range from health regeneration and speed augmentation to drone summoning and much more. But being a roguelike, these items disappear once you lose, so enjoy them while you can. After completing a biome, we are teleported back to the main hub, allowing us to deassemble any unwanted power-ups, purchase a handful of new ones on display, and invest Siren Essence into a mysterious contraption. But if you just want to stop playing for the day and resume later, this is also the perfect place to do so, allowing you to break up what otherwise would be a lengthy session. This game can be played up to 4 players, with 9 characters in total to choose from, but playing solo is also a great option, making the visual clutter on screen more manageable, and meaning you don't have to share any of your precious money or power-ups. With that being said, Gatekeeper is going to be added to my favorites. Risk of Rain is easily my favorite roguelike, and this feels like an isometrical version of it. I will definitely be playing more sessions whenever I get the chance. Conquest Dark. Without a metascore or a user score, but at a very positive on Steam. Some reviewers say, combat is very repetitive. All your build decisions are made at the very start of a run, out of a very small pool of options that you have pretty good control over. While others say, nice for when you have a few minutes to play something and want a condensed ARPG experience which still allows you to progress. With humanity standing on the brink of annihilation, under the threat of the undead army, warriors must perform a dark ritual to face the enemy head on. Bound to a small area where the ritual has been cast, our champion must survive until the timer runs out, as hordes of creatures try to take us down. As we banish these monsters, we gain experience, allowing us to level up our character for that run by granting a new ability or upgrading an existing one. Items can be also dropped by certain enemies, giving us weapons, armor, and equipment. Combat is passive, with attacks occurring automatically. Melee weapons only swing when the enemies are in range, while projectile weapons require the player to aim at their targets. However, you can activate auto-aim, allowing you to focus solely on maneuvering around the map. You can also enable automatic character builds, so whenever you level up, the ability choice are made for you, creating a more uninterrupted experience. For each ritual, you'll have a certain number of bosses to defeat, with the timer pausing once they appear and remaining frozen until they are defeated. As you take damage, your skin slowly begins to rip away in a very graphic yet goofy manner, allowing you to run around as a bloody skeleton if you're not careful. Outside of battle, we can navigate a world map, investing the currency gathered during combat to permanently upgrade abilities, unlock new levels, and invest in altars to increase our luck. Before starting each ritual, you can create a new character, choosing your race, class, and origin. Playing around with the ability options, I completed a couple of rounds as both swordsman and archer. And this is where I found some balancing issues. As the archer, I demolished my opponents without much trouble. But with the swordsman, I could barely stay alive for more than a minute, making each build feel broken, but in completely different ways. With that being said, Conquest Dark is going to be tossed into my library. It is still in early access, so a lot will change, but I did enjoy the concept and found it to be generally addictive. I'll be revisiting it after it's officially launched. Decktamer. Without a metascore, but with a user score of 80, some reviewers say it is totally RNG dependent past the first 2 wins, and unless you get some lucky rolls, you won't get past the 5th enemy wave. While others say it is brutally hard, but I found myself coming back to try again. As we dive into the depths of the abyss, we must fight and tame enemy creatures to aid us on our journey, helping us survive against larger and more threatening monsters. In this roguelike deck builder, we fight in 3v3 battle, with each creature attacking the card immediately in front of them, or the closest one if the slot is empty. The battle is won once all the enemy monsters are removed from the board, which can be done by depleting their health to 0 or taming them with food from your inventory. A percentage meter appears, representing the likelihood of that creature being tamed, with certain foods being more effective for certain types. Repeated feeding and lowering their health both increase the odds of a successful tame. Food can also be used on your own creatures, acting as a healing item. Since your monsters retain the damage from the previous encounters, it's important to make sure they are healthy before heading into another fight. In combat, each monster card has a list of attacks they can perform, with some granting buffs to your team, inflicting debuffs to the opponents, or attacking in a unique way. The green icon on each card determines its attack speed, with the highest value acting first. The only way to expand your team is by taming creatures, making the difficult choice between using your limited food supply for healing or taming. With every successful tame, that creature is given a unique name that can either be randomized or customized by you. But once your little monster falls in battle, that's it, they're gone forever, making this a tense and heart-wrenching experience. This game feels almost like a card-based Pokemon Nuzlocke, but instead of hoping your creatures won't die, you need to accept that it's a strategical inevitability. During combat, you can call back a team member in an active retreat, but that can leave the adjacent creatures vulnerable to attacks from 2 different foes, possibly losing them in the process. With that being said, Decktamer is going to be tossed into my library. It is a genius concept, and I can imagine some people are watching being super excited to play it, but I was not emotionally ready for it, so I'll have to revisit it when I'm better prepared for some heartbreak.
Whoa, Mondo combo, dude! Dino time! Get ready for war, Warthog!
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge. With a metascore of 85 and a user score of 80, some reviewers say it was too short, only 100 minutes to get through it, even on the hardest difficulty. While others say, if you like the arcade game or have any sort of affinity for TMNT, this is a no-brainer. From the sewers of New York, the Turtles are watching the news when they witness Channel 3 being overtaken by the Foot Clan. With the city under attack, they must spring into action to uncover and stop their nefarious plan. In an arcade beat-em-up style, we fight all manners of foot soldiers, mousers, and several other villains straight out of the iconic 80s cartoon series. With levels that span across the city, filled with interactive objects that aid or harm us, our objective is to defeat all enemies on screen, and then proceed to the right, culminating in a final boss battle. The controls are very simple, with jump, attack, and dash being the three main actions, but learning combos and combinations unlock many more fighting moves. You also have a special attack that deals massive damage to all the enemies around you. However, it can only be used once your power meter is full. You can charge it at a small amount with every successful attack, or fill it instantaneously by using the taunt button, leaving you momentarily vulnerable, so don't go pressing that button all willy-nilly. Each character has slightly different stats, determining their range, speed, and power. Continuously playing as your favorite character allows you to unlock life expansions, extra hit points, color palettes, and more. But levels also give you plenty to work towards, with characters to find, items to collect, and stage-specific challenges, giving the game a good amount of replayability. I played a couple of rounds with my channel partner Major, and she really enjoyed it for exactly 2 levels. She felt that the game was fun, but only in short bursts, as it became a bit too chaotic and overstimulating, especially when she completely lost sight of her character amongst the sea of enemies flying across the screen. With that being said, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge is going to be added to my favorites. It's a simple game filled with charm that modernizes the beat-em-up genre, making it an enjoyable experience even if you're not a Turtles fan. Dead Cells. With a metascore of 89 and a user score of 83, some reviewers say the combat is too floaty, which ends up getting you killed more than it gives you the tools you need to really kill enemies. While others say very punishing but equally rewarding and enjoyable roguelike, which does an excellent job at staying satisfying throughout every run. As a nameless reanimated corpse, we are attempting to escape a prison island by fighting off every creature in sight until we fall in battle. But in this place, death is not the end, forcing us back to the beginning to attempt our prison break once more. In these escaped attempts, we traverse a labyrinthian map filled with dangers, treasures, and mysteries, with several bifurcating paths that can lead us to a merchant, an upgrade, a locked area, a dead end, or the next biome. If you finish an area before a certain amount of time, or with a number of kills, you will receive special items and essence, rewarding quick and thorough players. In between areas, we take a quick pause at the collector station, where he grants us permanent upgrades in exchange for the essence of the creatures we defeated. Quick side note, you don't buy the upgrades, you invest in them, meaning you can and should use all of your essence whenever you're here. Instead of believing you don't have enough money to purchase anything and then getting confused why you have to kick down the door to leave the shop, making you think that the economy of this game is broken and stupid, when in fact you're the one being stupid. Or was that just me? In our pursuit of freedom, we have plenty of enemies to fight off, with our attacks being determined solely by the weapons we have at hand, allowing us to equip 4 in total, each with different range, power, speed, and effects. During each run, we can upgrade our character by investing points in brutality, tactics, or survival. These 3 attributes can synergize with weapons and modifiers of the same type. But once you lose a run, your character reverts back, losing all of those enhancements. The Bad Seed is only one of the DLCs, so if you want the complete game, you'll need to purchase 3 more expansions, one of which is a Castlevania crossover. Okay, this is a bit off topic, but in October, the developers of this game are launching a brand new Castlevania title, and I'm very hyped for that. With that being said, Dead Cells is going to be added to my favorites. It's difficult to review a game that has become the poster child for its own genre. If you enjoy roguelikes, then this is a must-have for your collection.
Where's that other bill at? Aha! Gotcha! What the hell's he doing?
Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. With a Metascore of 89 and a user score of 85, some reviewers say, locking the game's difficult setting behind New Game Plus and making New Game Plus a paid Day 1 DLC is absolutely ridiculous and profoundly anti-consumer. While others say, ton of cool minigames in there as well. The Animal Crossing clone in particular was great and cost me about 20 hours of my playtime alone. Two heroes with a checkered past are brought together in a mysterious way while on their quest for redemption. Could this be the will of fate or the doings of a nefarious third party? We start the game as Ichiban, an honest working man, helping ex-Yakuza members find employment and reform themselves, as a debt he's paying for his previous lifestyle. The lengthy cutscenes shows in depth how far he's willing to go to help others and just how kind-hearted he has become. I found it generally heartwarming to see Ichiban's outlook on life and the way he treats people, not just with kindness but also with understanding, validating their fears and mistakes while supporting them regardless. On another note, we beat the crap out of street thugs just for looking at us funny. In a turn-based battle system, we take turns attacking and defending, but during these brief moments of execution, the actions feel so seamless that I sometimes forgot I was choosing from a menu instead of simply walking up to somebody and smashing a bike over their head. For the majority of my almost 2 hours of playtime, I spent most of it just watching instead of playing. Even though I enjoyed the story, and at certain points I had the option of making choices that granted me points in my personality tree, it can be frustrating to start a game and then realize you're barely playing. I eventually stopped following the main mission markers and explored the town instead, just to experience more of the gameplay. During that brief time, I sang karaoke, tried a board game I did not understand, found an arcade, played an old Sega fishing game, played an old Sega beat-em-up game, and tried my luck at the claw machine. But those things are rigged. With that being said, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth is going to be added to my favorites. I need to find the time to play this properly, but the little that I experience has me genuinely excited to dive into this series and finally find out what I've been missing. And those were the games. But before our quick recap to see how we feel about this month, I would like to thank Stealthy Shiroean. He welcomed this channel with open arms and even gave it a shout out in his latest video, and I am very grateful for that. I would also like to welcome all new viewers and subscribers. I hope that these videos help you understand these games a little bit better. And if you enjoyed this series, consider watching Deep Look, where I break down and analyze a game from each humble choice. But now, for the ranking. To my favorites, I'll be adding Dead Cells. I still need to finish a run. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge. Give me some of that childhood nostalgia. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. This is the start of a beautiful obsession. Gatekeeper. I almost sneaked in a run while writing the script. To my library, I'll be tossing Decktamer. Might slip into my favorites, but I need to give it a second try. Conquest Dark. With some updates, it can definitely become favorites material. Pile up. The ideas and aesthetics are there, but the actual mechanics are currently too obtuse to be enjoyable. To the hidden folder, I'll be banishing Dark Envoy, a game that doesn't feel finished, and yet it's called Director's Cut. And that concludes this month's bundle. Hopefully I inspired you to try out some of the games. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget, this was just my humble opinion.